Hi, I'm Paul Cruz, I'm lead trainer at Flume Training. So the power of using stories in sales is pretty well known. However, they are way more impactful right now than ever before. So in this video, I want to explain why and share 3 tips on how best to use them. Now listen, spoiler alert, in the process, I might just ruin all of your favourite films. So let's start by getting into our clients' shoes and working out why they need stories right now. So first thing, more than ever, clients are looking to make safe decisions. They need to trust that whatever you're selling is going to work. And facts and figures and stats, they're all good, but they don't create that visceral, emotional response that drives change. But stories do that. Secondly, many clients are really unsure as to what they should and shouldn't be doing, and they want to learn. And stories are a great way to teach. And then lastly, the number one thing that our clients want to learn about right now is what their audiences are up to. So if you can share stories around that, you're in a great place. Okay, so let's move on to the tips. 3 reasons or 3 tips on how best to use stories right now. Number 1, don't start by telling stories about why they should choose to work with you. Here's why. That's basically a story about how great you are. And who wants to listen to that? Secondly, everyone else is doing it. It's a case study and there's loads of those around. And then lastly, a client needs to be taught why they should move away from their status quo, their safe place, before you go on to teach them why they should choose you. Okay, tip number 2, massively important, teach them a lesson. Now this should be a lesson that encourages them to think and act differently now. Now once they've learned that lesson, once they've realised that, then you can start to tell them why they should consider working with you. So let's have a think about some of the lessons that you could teach right now. One could be that the marketing approach that they take right now with the audience is going to be remembered forever, and it's going to shape the future of any relationship. Another message could be that the way that audiences engage with digital has completely changed. It could be that the marketing messages that audiences are responding to has also changed. Okay, so tip number 3 is to use a 3-part process for building your stories. Now here's where the spoiler comes in, because when you listen to this, you're going to see that many of your favourite films follow pretty much these 3 parts. So let's go through them. Part 1, let's call this before the lesson was learned. So paint a picture with a protagonist. The protagonist is very much like your client. They're going along in their status quo. They're quite comfortable. Everything's fine. Part 2, let's call this how the lesson was learned, arguably the most important part. What went wrong in your protagonist's situation that meant that they learned a lesson? How did they learn that lesson? How did they realise whatever you want them to realise? And then part 3, let's call that after the lesson was learned. What did that lesson enable them to do? What impact did it have on their outcomes? Let's make sure those outcomes are going to be really positive. Okay, so 3 tips for using stories right now. Number 1, don't start by telling stories about why they should choose to work with you. You can use them, but don't start there. Number 2, teach them a lesson. And number 3 is use these 3 distinct parts when you're building your stories. Okay, so I hope that's really helpful. If anyone wants any help or assistance or guidance on how to create stories that are going to work for you within your role, then please drop us a line. Be happy to help if we can. There's lots more of these videos to come as ever, and you can follow us across all of our channels. Thanks.